Wrestling with wrestling's past and present.
How old were you?
I was -3.
See, JR is trying to contain Jim Ross.
McFlurry,
It's Mick Foley.
Do you see any of the aggro crag? Was any of that left over?
No, unfortunately not.
No?
I'm taking some of that home.
Definitely not is the barn burner that Leaf Cassidy and Tiger thing was, but we'll leave that there.
We digress.
God, I hope that storyline ends soon.
And 6 to 8 weeks later, they mail you a freaking magnet.
Yep. You may know him as the Red Rooster.
Because it's still real to me, damn it.
He kept making out with his wife. It was weird. So then, I'm waiting for them to put the Selena Vega on a pole match.
And I mean, Big E's got Whale performing in his entrance, so I feel like
Wale.
they would.
It's Wale.
Wale. I don't listen to. Okay, well, I don't listen to him, so I apologize to Wale.
This is in the mail, my good sir. No, it wasn't. Paul.
I feel like Vince is just gonna have them team together and be like, have them called Woo Bro. Like they're just gonna be the Woo Bros. Like, anyway.
Giving us a reason to come here and listen to ourselves talk.
Absolutely, and
And then you can listen to us too. We're off to a rough start.
Strap on and balls only on wrestling past and present.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Ward, and you're listening to Wrestling where wrestling's past and present.
This is Wrestling with Wrestling's Past and Present. I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm rolling Fueless.
Now, Mongo.
And today it is episode 84, and we're doing something we haven't really done a lot of. We're covering wrestling in the 80s, and we're actually covering NWA, the Great American Bash, 1988.
Back before WCW was even known as WCW, essentially.
That's right.
I tweeted out a picture today of 2 young stallions of Shivani and JR doing the commentary. Shivani has his Hitler porn stash going, so it was quite the look for those 2 guys, but definitely a cool show. It's cool to think like somebody like Sting is still wrestling from this show.
Yeah.
You think of it, it's like, holy crap. Like how long, like that was so long ago. Like it's amazing. I know Sting had some time off in between and whatnot, but it's pretty neat.
How cool is it that we literally are pretty much without even trying, again, coming full circle, that on Dynamite this past, couple weeks, we had a segment with Tully and Arn and Sting, and the commentators were, Jim Ross and Shivani. So that was the first thing I noticed too. I'm like, oh, it's NWA Dynamite. I'm like,
WWE Dynamite.
Yeah, I know, but technically this is NWA. This is better than WWE. At least this was somewhat enjoyable.
Yeah, anything that has WWE moniker on it sucks balls right now. Like they keep promoting like Money in the Bank and stuff, and it's like, wow, another pay-per-view I'm not gonna watch.
Right. I mean, I know this wasn't a pay-per-view. I don't know if you guys maybe know or not. I'm guessing it was filmed for like obviously home video at this point, because this is back when tape trading was a thing. So do you guys know if this was like just like a CCTV special? Because I know this is right around when WrestleMania started doing their CCTV shit. So
well, they mentioned of TV time remaining, so it sounded like it was on TV.
that's why.
Yeah.
So
okay. See, that's what I thought too. I'm like, yeah, it was weird too. You had weird time limits for each match too. It wasn't just like.
Yeah.
But no, I just want to make sure. I'm like, I wonder if it was like one of those tape trading things, because the production quality, like, not to get too far, was weird.
Yeah.
Like, it was different. I know it's the 80s. I'm not trying to crap on it, but it was like, it was almost like they just had a camera and it was like a webcam and you're just like watching the whole thing. Like there was no cutaways, there was no segments. Like it was like they just set up a camera, like, yeah, that's the hard cam. It's gonna be on 24/7, so just go.
It was like the MLB ballpark cams. Like
yes,
thank you. Like it's just like in one spot and all it does is show the ball. So like you could see like what's going on, but like you can't see it enough. It's like, let's go to the Great American Ballpark. And like all you can see is like outfield, ants are throwing the ball back and forth. You're like, wow, that's cool. Like that's kind of what it reminded me of too. Like it just seemed like someone stuck a camera, like literally a camera that didn't move, like just set it down. I was like, all right, let's go.
Who got the zip ties? Tie that thing up in section 304.
There was like no introduction. Like the show just started and there was like Thing was coming to the ring.
Yeah, it was weird. It definitely was an interesting view. And it's, again, we had to go on Peacock, which is still probably the worst platform for any of this to watch this. I'm just glad they had it for one. But it was kind of nice that when you actually went into the seasons, they put the fucking dates with it.
About time.
Yeah, so like it said season 1, Great American Bash 88. It's like, oh, that one. Instead of just going like, because we all know lately with Peacock, I'm just like, oh, Kevin Owens is on this show. This has got to be the one I want to watch. And then you find out that the Finn Balor match is the 4th match, not the first match. Watching the whole wrong show. Like that's what I was worried about. But like at least hopefully going forward they do that for all the shows. Like, is it really that hard to throw the damn date next to it? Like instead of seeing episode 3, like or whatever, just put the damn date on there. Come on.
And I get that it's like it's an episodic platform. It's NBC, but you bought the WWE network. Raw, SmackDown, they weren't seasons. Like it's bad enough on Hulu if you want to go back and watch old Raws or SmackDowns. I don't know what season Raw we're on. I don't even know what episode number we're on. All I know is that it's Raw from this year. I don't know all that. It's the same with this. I'm like, technically this is the 4th annual, NWA Bash, and it's season 1. So even then, that doesn't really make sense. Like you said, thank God for the year. But I mean, it seems like they're listening, because some of the complaints we've had are starting to get fixed. Like now you can, I don't know if you notice, you can do the live pausing now and fast forwarding. It's finally on Amazon, so I don't have to use my PlayStation to watch it. It's finally on Fire Stick.
Wow. Look at them moving up in the world. They got everybody. You know what it is? Everybody that just came off of that trial. Like I just got billed this week for the first $4.99, so they're making bank now because they had me for 4 months at $250 a month. So
yeah, $1.50 too much for WB. What?
Yeah, that was for 4 months though.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, at least we have content like this to watch, so that. At least that what makes the $4, $5 worth it is we get to watch something like this. We get to watch all 3 of us. I was 2 years old, Roland was 2 years old, Tim was in the negatives. So like at least we get to see something that I'd never got a chance to see and probably wouldn't have on this podcast. So at least that's one plus of Peacock. For all the shit we get, at least we got to see this.
I was shocked it was on there, to be honest with you. That's one thing that I think they lied about a little bit. Like they were saying like all this stuff wouldn't be uploaded. It's pretty much all there. Like, I mean, nothing we've looked for hasn't been there yet.
Yeah.
So.
Thank God.
So let's get right into it. You got 7 total matches on the card. 1 dark match. It was a tag team match between Dick Murdoch and Rick Steiner. They're going to get a win over Kendall Windham and Tim Horner in about 4.5 minutes. I mean, I don't really know much about Kendall Windham and Tim Horner, so I don't really know how good this match would have been.
Tim just had his Wale whale moment.
Yeah, I know.
And obviously there's some names you've heard of anyways.
Yeah.
But, Rick Steiner is arguably one of the probably most underrated like you don't think of Rick Steiner, you think of Scott. Like that's like he's like the Jannetty, and I even hate to say that because Rick Steiner is like a badass. He's actually like really good, but obviously probably just got the crowd going, got them excited for the weird entrant into the TV recording realm of the show where like it just started. So,
and to help Tim out, Kendall Windham is Barry's brother and Blackjack Mulligan's son. So I don't know if that helps at all.
Oh, okay.
I figured
That makes sense.
What are you talking about now?
Well, no, but and I agree with Roland on Rick Steiner. Like, I know people make fun of him, like for the whole like the Mad Dog gimmick he had, the bulldog and the headgear and stuff. But out of the two of them, he was the better wrestler. I don't care, much for Scott's style. Like, but they worked together. The reason why they worked together as a team is you had Scott, who was always like the muscle, and then you had Rick, who was the wrestler. So it's like Scott would pummel you, and Rick would put you in the Steiner recliner and make you tap out. And I wish we could have seen this because I want to see vintage Rick Steiner, because I think he, like you said, low key, he was probably the better of the Steiners, and he should have had the better career. Because I feel like if he just had a better gimmick and he could talk on the mic, he probably had a better career than Scott. Probably can add better than him.
Oh, definitely. He's still scarred from that promo, I think.
We kick off the actual card with a tag team match for the NWA World Tag Team titles. You have Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard with JJ Dillon against Nikita Koloff and Sting. This match goes to a time limit draw of 20 minutes. I thought this was an excellent start of the show. This is really cool. I haven't seen many, if any, Arn and Tully matches. I mean, a little bit, before my time. But it was awesome to get them to see this, in their prime here. And Sting, it's cool to see Sting in the Surfer gimmick as he's just starting out. I thought this was an excellent match, and I like the time limit draw here. I thought it actually did a service to both teams, which is what it's supposed to do. And I thought it was a great way to start the show.
Well, and not only that, they played it up like Sting and Koloff won. So like that's kind of cool. Like they didn't, the crowd didn't know what was going on. So like they executed it very well. And to go more to Tim's point about Tully and Arn, like I know there's comparisons to FTR and Tully and Arn, but did you not feel like you were watching FTR in that match? Like, I just, and I know like everybody's gonna be like, oh, they say that all the time. Like I know I'm not stupid, folks. I'm not the brightest person, but I get it. But like honestly, it felt like I was watching Dax and Cash in that match. Like they, no joke, have patterned themselves like 100%. Some of the mannerisms, some of the stuff they do to their gear, to just it was, and it's cool to have Tully actually be, their manager, essentially be the JJ Dillon of the group. Speaking of JJ Dillon, he was on this show more than Jimmy Hart was.
I know.
One of the other WCW shows that we watched, or was it WWE? I can't remember. Anyways, Jimmy Hart was on the show like 4 times too. But
and has JJ Dillon ever looked young? Because he looked old as shit in this one, and I feel like he was at this point.
Yeah, he hasn't aged. He's always been 70. Like he's been.
It's like when you
30 years now.
It's like if you watch Back to the Future, Jesus, did he ever have hair? Like that's literally the Michael J. Fox quote popped in my head. I was like, did this guy ever look his age? Like what the hell? Like I know smoking was a big thing in the 80s, but dude, you look the same as you did on Dynamite when you showed up a few months ago. Like you look 90. Like, yeah.
And I
mean, he looks good though.
That's what I'm saying. Like even like it you can tell that of the Horsemen, of the group, the core group of the Horsemen. If Arn hadn't got injured, I guarantee you he'd still be in better shape. I mean, not that he's in terrible shape because he still goes to the gym and whatever, but I feel like that kind of helped let himself go a little bit because he wasn't able to work out like he used to and whatnot. So like, but Tully's still in great shape. I mean, Rick, granted, he almost died a couple of years ago, but that had nothing to do with the shape he was in. But, some of these guys from, back in the early 70s, late 80s era, are still, they still look a lot like they did then. Like Arn, other than having less hair and being a little bit rounder now, he looks the same too. So, it's amazing to go back and watch. And like I said, kudos to the way they pulled this finish off. It went over well. The crowd had no idea. They thought, Sting and Koloff won it. And it was a cool way to watch it from, watching it now, you can appreciate that finish so much more than you probably could then.
No, I agree. I sometimes have a hard time with really older product, whether it's TV, movies. Like I love 80s. Like 80s has always been, even though I was only lived through 4 years of it, but I love like 80s movies, 80s music, and obviously 80s wrestling. But sometimes you watch and it's very dated and hard to watch. But the NWA, there's a reason why it's still around today. There's a reason why they're always going to be, no pun intended, the gold standard of what wrestling was. There's a reason why Vince McMahon pretty much poached all his stars from them and stole their gimmicks from them and their ideas, yada, yada, yada. This was an example. Like that match, like I hadn't seen too many Arn and Tully matches too, but holy crap, like the ring psychology alone, like wrestlers who want to be pro wrestlers, this is the card you should watch. Like how to work a match, how to work a crowd, work a body part, tell a story in the ring. Even if you don't know the storylines, I could tell who the heel was, you could tell who the face was, and just the way they worked in the ring, it like you said, it reminded me of FTR. That was funny you said it. My first thought was, man, Dax and Cash really do watch these matches because, like you said, the gear, the mannerisms, down to just the way they walk in the ring and have their hands held up for a grapple, like just the little things. And it's great. It definitely makes you appreciate Tully a lot more than I have, and realize that how lucky AEW is to have literally 3 of these people from this friggin' match in there to help their locker room. Like some of the great minds, there's a reason why this match was so great, because of their minds and their passion.
Next up is another tag team match, and it's for the NWA United States Tag Team title, which I thought was a little weird that you had the United States Tag Team titles and then the regular tag team titles, but it's wrestling, so. So you have the Midnight Express, Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane with Jim Cornette. They're going to get a win over the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers, in about 16 and a half minutes. Jim Cornette suspended in like a shark cage and a straitjacket. on top of the arena there. I thought this was a solid match. I haven't seen a whole lot of Midnight Express stuff, and the Fantastics not too familiar with, but I thought they put on a great show. They got the cheap win with the chain. The Midnight Express did. So I thought this was a really solid tag team match. And I was, I was excited to watch these teams that I wasn't really familiar with.
They put the chain in the other man's pants to pull off just down to that detail. It's like, man, that's like, you usually you throw it out of the ring, you put it in your arms, whatever. Like, he went out of his way to literally throw, and like when he woke up, he was like, he hit me with something. And then he's like, oh, it's in my pants. It's weird. But Cornette stole the show here. They're putting him in the straight jacket, and he's trying to bribe the referee and all that stuff. And then afterwards they end up actually whipping him a little bit. He's running away, and then he gets to the microphone and he's saying that I'm on the run and all this stuff. It was great. I think Tito Santana wants his outfit back. I think that Cornette looked like he was wearing something that Tito Santana would go on to wear in like the early 90s for WWE when he was El Matador. I think that for what this was, the match was pretty solid and the storytelling was good, and the fit so far, you could poo-poo on a time limit draw all you want, but so far the two finishes on these matches made sense. They executed them well, and at this point, if you're there, you have to be excited, because that's one thing I will say. The crowd, even though it was in Maryland, which is a weird spot for a WCW show, that's way up north compared to where, like, you think of like Atlanta, you think of Charlotte, you think of stuff like that. So the crowd was hot for this card all the way through. So it definitely kept it going. And like I said, Cornette stole the show. I mean, the wrestling was good too, but Cornette made the match. There was points in there where I laughed out loud at Jim Cornette just because it was that over the top.
I mean, they don't call him Corny Cornette for a reason. So you got to get started on this one. But so I have a problem though with Cornette though today, because it's funny going back watching my first thoughts. This son of a bitch nowadays literally poo-poos, to steal your word, and shits on the mud show or the over-the-top carniness of wrestling now. And it's like, you are Corny Cornette first. Like, and that's what I liked about him. And that's why I don't know, like, if he's just like angry at the world now or what it is, but this is the Jim Cornette I remember. This was, like you said, the fun Jim Cornette, where I think the stipulation was if you lost, you got like 10 lashes or something ridiculous. But then I remember 2 years ago or a year ago, he was bitching at Cody Rhodes for agreeing to that with MJF getting the lashes. I'm like, and I see it's like, but you son of a bitch, you did it too. Like, I just think it's one of those, like, because he didn't do it, it's not a good idea mentality. But that's a whole different episode. But speaking of those lashes too, like those are brutal. The ones that MJF gave. I mean, geez. I'm glad you brought that up. I thought we were gonna kind of see Corny get his due, and then you didn't even mention that his tennis racket was a matching accessory to his terrible outfit.
I was too busy trying to figure out what bull he was trying to fight.
And what I think is funny is I know you brought it up off air, but the fan interference at Dynamite, the guy said he did it for Cornette. And then I love Jericho's response. He's like, yeah, if Cornette saw that, he would have shoved his tennis racket up your ass and beat you with it, basically. Like, and I just love it. It's like, we keep getting these references. Everybody thinks that Jericho hates Cornette and vice versa, but you have to appreciate what he did. Like, this match shows, like you said, him bribing the officials and the straitjacket, him screaming and being unwilling in the shark cage. And he wants his heel team to win. And he's doing those dirty tactics. It made the match entertaining because, like Tim said, I didn't see a lot of the Fantastics, so I didn't know much about them. And the Midnight Express, I knew here and there, but it made the match super entertaining, and it made it worth watching.
And I will say, all four guys could go. Like, it was a decent match. It really was.
Yeah. Next up is the Tower of Doom match, and I really don't even know how I'm going to explain the rules of this match.
I was thinking, now here's what's funny about that. I was thinking that when I was watching this, I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not Tim this week, like trying to the nonsense that goes on in this ring.
So it's a triple cage, kind of like the WCW triple cage kind of thing that we covered a couple weeks ago.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. There's 2 ladders that they on each side. There's 2 teams of 5, and you start off with 1 member of each team. And every 2 minutes, the trap doors open, and the thing you try to escape to the floor. So you have to go from 1 cage to the second cage to the ring, and then the ring to the floor.
Clusterfuck.
Yeah,
That's all you can describe it.
yeah, it's a big cluster. I had no idea like what was going on. Like I couldn't keep track of who's on what team. The teams were so the Road Warriors were with Steve Williams and Ron and Jimmy Garvin. And they're gonna win somehow against Al Perez, Ivan Koloff, Kevin Sullivan, Mike Rotunda, and the Rustin Assassin.
They're gonna win because Kevin Sullivan pushed Garvin out of the ring.
Yes,
they didn't win because he escaped. Sullivan actually pushes him out of the cage at the end.
Yeah, but the whole thing,
Booker Man.
Their whole thing was there's a storyline with Precious, who was in the ring the whole time, which I didn't understand that either.
Well, yeah, why did she need to be in the ring time?
Yeah.
She'd been on the floor and just like, Well, I mean, you figure it out at the end why, but
yeah, because Kevin Sullivan, there must have been like some storyline with her, and Precious.
Yeah.
And so like he pushed Garvin out and then tried to attack Precious, and
dude, he was like choking her and stuff. Like it was
he was going after her,
yeah.
It was,
which is kind of tough to think about because there's accusations in real life what he used to do to like Nancy Benoit, Nancy Sullivan now. So it's that brought back some not so fun memories of Kevin Sullivan.
I mean, no offense to Sullivan, he's a great wrestling mind, but this guy's a fucking weirdo. Like
there's
no other way to describe it. Like, and again, he's a great wrestling mind. He's had some great finishes. He's done so much for the business, but like this dude is like out there. But we use the term on the show every now and again, clusterfuck. This is 100% like I said earlier, it's a clusterfuck. This is exactly what this was. They have 2 extended ladders, so these poor bastards climb up, and then so not only do they have the 2 guys in the ring for 2 minutes before the trap door opens, but when the 2 minutes happens, then other people enter the top and have to go down. The thing's swaying back and forth. The referee looks like he's shitting himself.
The referee has to like do like a pull,
like a hand crank,
like a hand crank thing to open up the door.
Like whatever happened to just having a referee with a latch, like controls the latch, like boop, there you go. Like he's like, and it's like this shoelace with a rope, and it's like.
I just want to know what the pitch meeting was like. All right, so we have these 3 cages, but we're not going to use them the right way. We're going to go reverse. And then we're going to come down, but he has to go up first to come down. Then he can come down after he goes up. And the referee's got a hand crank from the 1979 Toyota Corolla that we stole in the parking lot. I used the coat hanger to jimmy rig the top part. I went to Home Depot. I got those aluminum ladders, but I spray painted them because they didn't look too sturdy. So that's somebody's going to come. I know Animal's fat, but he's got to climb to the top. He's a big boy. He'll be fine. Don't worry. The cage has give. We made sure it has plenty of springs. It's got 3.
There's lighting up there to hold the cage.
Yeah, I was just about to say that they kind of like. I don't think they measured really good because like the lights were right there.
There's just. We keep saying there's no other way. It's honestly skip this match. Like there's a reason why the one with Hulk Hogan, they tried this again, WCW 2 before a few more times. It's the 96. If you watch it with Hulk Hogan, it was the biggest clusterfuck. The 96 Tower of Doom is like one of the most infamous. This was just as bad. So I don't know who watched this and went, that's a damn good idea. Let's do the exact same thing, but worse. Like I don't get it. And can we talk about, speaking of the hard cam, we had to watch a fucking intermission. We had to watch these dudes set this up for like 20 minutes. What the hell was that? Like I had to fast forward. I'm like, oh, it's only a few minutes, whatever. I went, grabbed a water from the fridge. I'm like, they're still setting it up. Like that's why I was asking you earlier if it was like produced. And I'm like, so do they not know to shut the camera off? Or even now, like Peacock not know to edit this weird like 15 minutes of the road crew setting up this cage. And then the only exciting part, I think I texted you guys a group, some dude got kicked out of the arena. Like the security was kicking a fan out.
They were running all over the place. Yeah. And then
I was more entertained by that random fan getting thrown out than watching, this poor Union Labor 106 setting up this Tower of Doom that's about to smash the lights with a 20-minute intermission. I'm watching people come back with snacks, and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder what he got from the concession stand." Like, why
Wonder
are
how
we
much that
watching
was.
intermission?
Right. Well, and then after the match, they throw it to Bob Caudle, and Bob Caudle pretty much repeats himself aimlessly for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this in wrestling before, but it was such a great fit. But I've never seen nothing like this. And then he did this, and
I've totally not seen this yet.
Yeah, it's like he just repeated himself, the same sentence reworded for like 3 minutes, and then finally someone like went over and just turned him off. They're like, "Ooh." Like it was horrible.
And I get the whole purist thing, and I have a whole other beef. Like when you hear like baseball purists or people purists, to me, a purist is someone who just can't accept change. Go back and edit this. I don't care if it's not presented in the original format. I don't need to see a 20-minute intermission of them sending that. Talk about taking the illusion out. Like, can you imagine being in like watching this if you were watching at home? Like, oh, so it's like I'm actually there. No, really, it's like I'm there. There's intermission. Like,
well, and then during like the beginning of the match, like they still didn't have stuff set up right. Like Dr. Death's like yelling and pointing. He's like, "You gotta do that." Like it's like he's like the foreman of the group all of a sudden. Like it was weird. It was so weird.
Yeah.
And I get the whole concept of, well, not concept because no one gets a concept, but I get the like idea of having something that's spectacle and that you want to see. But you already have the Road Warriors, you have Dr. Death, you have the Garvins, you have Kevin Sullivan, Rotunda, like IRS, you have talent in the ring. You could have had a regular match. You didn't need this clusterfuck of a match that didn't make any sense. I mean, even at one point, the Road Warriors, they were looking up, and Hawk literally mouthed, "What the fuck do we do?" Like he didn't know what he was doing, because I don't think anyone did. And imagine being in the crowd, because they didn't even announce what the rules were. Really, they tried to, but I don't know. I feel like if you were there live, I couldn't imagine that too. Like, what's going on? How did they? Oh, he won. Oh, that's how they finished it. So definitely, this would be the one thing I think that took down the card. Skip this match.
Yeah.
Maybe watch the highlights on YouTube if you really want to see it, but your brain's gonna hurt.
Things do get a little bit better though with our next match. Is for the NWA United States Championship. You have Barry Windham and Dusty Rhodes. Barry Windham is with J.D. Dillon, and he's going to get the win in about 16 minutes here. Kind of a screwball finish. It was Ron Garvin that came out right at the end.
Yeah,
it was Ron Garvin come out. Dusty Rhodes is telling him to go get the referee, and he just sucker punches him, knocks out Dusty Rhodes. Barry Windham puts the claw on him for the 1-2-3 and gets the win. I thought this was a good match. It's just I did have a little bit of an issue with the claw spot. I thought that went on way too long. Like using the claw for like 10 minutes, it seemed like.
Still in the claw now. I
know. It reminded me of Hogan and Andre when Hogan's in that bear hug for 10 minutes. So that was my only issue with that. Other than that, I thought the match was solid. It's cool to see Dusty. I think this is kind of towards the tail end of his prime. He's already he's already had his world championship runs at this point. But yeah, other than the claw spot, I thought this was a pretty decent match.
Yeah, and just to put a little bit of a bow on the last match, Jimmy Garvin and Precious were together in real life. They were a couple, so that was the storyline, and Kevin Sullivan trying to turn her evil, essentially. But anyways, I agree that the only thing wrong with this match was the claw thing. It drawn on way too much. The match itself wasn't bad. The actual wrestling was good. The storytelling was good. But like Tim said, to have a claw that went on what seemed like 15 minutes of a 20-minute match, it's too much. And other than that, and like Tim said also, it's cool to get a different retrospect of Dusty's career, because growing up, all I knew was Polka Dot Dusty.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I knew until like we started getting into this and watching more things and hearing stuff on different podcasts and whatever. So it's definitely cool to see when he was still, red hot in WCW, essentially.
No, I agree. Sorry, my stupid computer froze there for a second. yeah, I don't want to go too much over the claw spot, but I already thought the claw was kind of a stupid gimmick finisher anyway. Like to me, like it reminds me of like the brain chop or like the Nigerian nail that was stolen from, as we were joking earlier. Just those moves that just don't look effective. And then, like Tim said, he's in it for like 75 minutes, just dancing and grooving and hulking up and jiving and getting his mojo there, baby. Gotta get myself out of this claw, baby. Like he just no, like why? It went on too long, and I don't want to like harp on it too much more, but it was a good match besides that spot. And like Roland, I didn't really see much Dusty besides the polka dot WWF WCW Dusty, and this was cool because I didn't realize how much he could really go. And that sounds super insulting, but I mean, my defense, when I saw him, he was a lot bigger than he was, but his poor forehead. You guys notice that his forehead was scarred even back then. Him and Abdullah Butcher, like, man, it just looks like someone took a cheese grater to their face and just like carved it. Like it's
They used forks. Like that was the thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the ending was a little too much gaga for me, but I thought overall it was a decent match, and I kind of wanted to see a little bit more from Dusty and a little bit less like Claw and other like stupid shticks. But overall, it was a decent match, and it definitely made up for that stupid Tower of Doom. So at least it kind of got it back on track. And then without cutting Tim off, what we go into for the main event really sent us fans home happy, and sent us home happy.
Yeah, I agree. The main event was for the NWA World Heavyweight Title. You have Ric Flair and Lex Luger here. They go about 23 minutes. I thought this was a great match because Lex Luger is a newcomer at this point. I think he's only been in wrestling for 3 years, they said. So they're building him up as a future star, and then you have Ric Flair, the established world champion. So I actually thought the wrestling itself, the storytelling of that was really good, and it built up Lex as a star. And I thought the finish was actually kind of brilliant because it benefited both guys. So the finish was, Lex Luger gets pushed into the ring post and starts bleeding. And the athletic commission is talking to the referee about it. And in the meantime, Luger has Flair in the torture rack. And they ring the bell, and Luger thinks he's won, thinks Flair submitted, but in reality, the commission told the referee to stop the match because of the blood. And Ric Flair ends up being your winner. So I thought the finish was brilliant because it keeps the title on Flair, because you're probably not ready to push Luger yet, but it doesn't do any damage to Luger as you try to push him into a star. The only thing is, if you're going to do that, make sure the gusher is a little bit more than what it was, because it wasn't that much blood. But I guess they and JR did kind of play it up at Maryland's really strict, so they did kind of cover that. But other than that, I thought this was a really solid match with a great finish that protects both guys.
Yeah, I've had more color on my face after I've had spaghetti. It wasn't. It was very non-convincing. It was. Like Tim said, that was when you need like the JBL gusher from the match with Eddie Guerrero. Like you need that. Like that's what you need, that match gusher to be like, oh boy, we need to stop it. But literally, it looked like he like bit his lip. It was like bleeding out it was on his forehead, but like that, it was almost no blood there. But yeah, no, it keeps Luger strong and keeps the fans invested because he got screwed, and it also makes Rick look strong because he never lost technically. They even mentioned like who's to say if he would have given up or not. Like they thought he would, but they don't know. So it was definitely a Dusty finish, quote unquote. You could tell it was a Dusty finish, and those are the type of finishes that it was a good one. Like they pulled it off well, thankfully. But other than the finish being kind of wonky and being a little bit, not as dramatic as it should have been, the match itself was great. I think this might have been the best, if not one of the best, if not the best Luger matches I've ever seen. Like Luger actually could go, and he did fine. I remember, the late 90s, Luger could barely move in the ring. Like he was just like a statue. So to see him kind of flying around, throwing a flying clothesline and stuff like that, it was refreshing to see.
I thought the same thing. It's funny you said. I feel like sometimes we're on the same wavelength. I was like, damn, Luger could go. And the same thing. All I remember is him is like I always picture the Michelangelo statue with the awkward pose and that, like, or Drew Bledsoe from the Ninth Through Patriots where his feet just didn't move. It was great to see him go. And honestly, it's probably one of the best Ric Flair matches I've personally seen in a long time, because this is prime Ric Flair. You know, this is when he's really hot. This is, you know, when he's really turning the corner, becoming that fan favorite everywhere he goes, when he's defending his title in multiple states. So I did a little deep dive because I know Tim would be disappointed if I didn't otherwise. So I think it was a shoot stoppage. I don't think it was kayfabe, because I don't know if you guys remember back in 2020 when AEW did Revolution in Maryland, and that friggin' WCW guy reported them to the Athletic Commission for the Moxley Omega match with all the blood. So in Maryland, you're not allowed to so basically, I found the articles just to make sure I don't butcher completely, but to summarize, Maryland says that no one should purposely bleed during any pro wrestling match, and they've established those rules for a few years. So I'm wondering if, because they got busted open the hard way, if maybe they realized, hey, they actually legit stopped the match, because the Athletic Commission back then, they really had to be there, because you actually had to have a wrestling license. You actually had to go through that. And Maryland's one of those states where I don't know what it is, but they don't like any type of color in matches. And I think this is like the third match they've actually stopped in Maryland, and AEW got fined a huge amount. So I think that's why it was kind of wonky, but I think they also tried to incorporate a storyline as quick as they could. Because like Tim said, he's in the torture rack, and, you know, Roland saying that, oh, he's going to submit. And then just kind of the bell rings and it stops, and they kind of look confused. So I don't think they knew the finish. I think that maybe they were planned, but it definitely seemed like a shoot finish, and they kind of just had to improvise at the last minute, because it just seemed like it just ended out of nowhere.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, if it was a shoot finish, then kudos to them for doing the finish the way that they did, because they made up for it, and they definitely adapted well, because it looked, because you had Sting and all the wrestlers come out and try to celebrate with Luger and everything, and then when they say that Ric Flair won, they're all disappointed. So they played it off well if it was a shoot finish. They didn't let it get to them. So kudos to them if that's the case.
No, it was just weird, because I saw that and I'm like, wait, isn't Maryland that state that's super friggin' tight about blood? And so I quickly, you know, Googled before we came on air, and I'm like, that's right, that's the same place that, because Baltimore was the same place that Revolution happened, where, let me find his name real quick for you here, where this Chris Cruz from WCW basically narked on AEW because AEW wouldn't give him a job. So now he's like, no, I'm going to tell on you. And I just remember like that whole thing being a controversy. So it kind of just was in the back of my mind. I'm like, I wonder if that's the same place. Oh, it is Baltimore. So maybe it's something to do with like just their rules, how like NCAA has strict rules. Maybe they have strict rules, because I know hepatitis was a big thing in the 80s and early 90s. So maybe it was because of hepatitis. I don't want to speculate, but if any of our listeners know, you know, shoot us an email, let us know. But I'm, based on what I've read, I'm pretty certain it was shooting. Like Tim said, I think they did a really good job of, you know, working in some story to it, like the disappointment in the wrestlers and Luger's face, like just seeing the color drain. It was kind of sad too. Like, damn.
You know, so overall, I thought this was a really good show. You know, I'm going to probably give this a 7.5, 8 range. The Tower of Doom match really kind of was a downfall for me. But, you know, it's hard to recommend a match. If I was forced to pick one, I think I would pick the first one. I think I'd pick the Arn and Tully versus Nikita Koloff and Sting match, with a close second to Ric Flair and Lex Luger.
Yeah, no, there was definitely some good matches on the card. I would say that you're on the same page as me, that those two were probably the best. And the Tower of Doom was just that. It was doomed from the start. The concept is stupid. It looked like Mongo said, it looked like someone was like, how can we make this worse? Like, how can we take a cage match and make it so clusterfucky that no one can figure out what's going on? No one knows who's in the match still. And then it was interesting. So yeah, I'd say it's somewhere in the 7.5 range for me too.
I think I'm going to surprise you both. I think I'm going to go 6.5. I think the Tower of just that weird intermission in that match, I think it just kind of killed the momentum for me, but the rest of the card made up for it. You know, I think my match would probably be the Flair match. I think would be the match to watch for me, because I think that it really shows up. But I mean, there wasn't really a bad match on the card. There was just too much gaga for me for some things. And I guess, I don't know, when I think golden era wrestling, when I think the 80s, I know they had over the top characters, but I didn't think of this much. Like this was a lot of like WB style booking. Like, see, I don't know if it's me. It just seems like the finishes were just too over the place. But the first match and the Ric Flair match are the ones I think are my favorites. But I think 6.5 just because Howard Doom and that weird ass intermission just kind of killed the momentum for me to really give it any higher rating.
Well, and if you took the ending of the Wyndham Rhodes match, like if you took that and didn't have the claw for like an hour and a half, that match would have been on that list too, I think.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
No, I agree.
I mean, it was fun to go back to the, this though. I mean, I enjoyed it. Even though I gave it 6.5, it's not, I'm not saying don't watch it. Like definitely watch it. Just maybe skip the Tower of Power match, as we've said. But overall, I definitely enjoyed it.
Tower of Power.
Oh, that's what it feels like. That old TV show, Tower of Power, Tower of Doom, Tower of fucking fuckery, whatever we want to call it.
Clusterfuck Towers, whatever. It's fine.
Tower of clusterfuckery. There we go.
There you go.
So that is our rundown of the Great American Bash 1988, and I believe that was the last pay-per-view or TV special before they became WCW. So it's interesting to go back and take a look at that. So definitely check out those matches we recommend. Coming up for you guys next week, we're going back to TNA 05. This time it is No Surrender. We have Raven and Abyss on top on that one in a dog collar match for the NWA World Heavyweight Title. So looking forward to breaking down that show for you guys next week.
Yeah, it should be very interesting. I think that, like we've said before, the AEW and the TNA shows really perform well. So you guys seem to like it. I think, again, one of the smartest things we did was do the TNA and keep the year going. I wish we had thought of doing it from the beginning of the year. So because we missed a few shows, but I think it's cool that we know at least once a month you're getting a TNA show.
No, I agree. And I look forward to doing too, because it's easier to keep the storylines in your head. Because, if you miss some of those pay-per-views, at least we watched and reviewed the pay-per-views. So we kind of have the storyline of, this one of, there's also the AJ Styles match on there with the carryover from X-Pac costing him the match in the previous one we covered. So it's definitely always fun to go back and revisit. And it's cool because it's another NWA type of event. It's another NWA championship being defended. And to me, it's wrestling. Like, this is entertainment. This is entertainment. This is what makes me a wrestling fan, is watching these types of shows where it's actually entertaining. The wrestling is good. The storytelling's fun. And, there's some shit that we're like, ugh, but at least overall it's entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is coming up for you guys next week. In the meantime, hit us up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can send us an email, www.pappod@gmail.com. Hit us up on our website, www.papp.com. Hope you enjoyed this episode. You guys have anything else before we go?
Make sure you tell your friends too.
Yeah, tell your friends.
Say, take us home, Tim. Take us home.
Absolutely. Until next week, I'm Tim Kurt.
I'm Rolling Fuelless.
And I think I'm still Mongo.
And this is Wrestling with Wrestling Past and Present.
You're Mongo with a do-rag.
I hope you're all having a nice day.